Well, welcome everyone to Trophy Club Town Council's final meeting of the year. It is 7 p.m. and I hereby call the meeting to order. Note we have a quorum present with all council members here this evening. At this time, I would like to ask Pastor Jeff Brooks to lead us with the invocation. I also have a special request, Pastor. I'd like to request a special prayer from one of our town employees. She tragically lost her husband this morning, so we'd like everyone to keep her and her family in their thoughts and prayers. Is Pastor Brooks here this evening? Assistant Town Manager Carol, would you like to lead us in the invocation?
Sure. Lord, we just want to thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to meet as a group of leaders. And we just ask that your blessing be upon us as a group, and that you give us wisdom as you see fit, and that you help us to make the right decisions for our community. God, we pray for protection for our first responders and our other staff members. And God, we pray for Anita and her family as they're dealing with such a hard time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. Okay, our pledges will be led by Councilmember Monger this evening. All stand, please.
Please join me as we honor our nation, and then we'll honor the state of Texas. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We're now down to public comment. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on any matter. The council is not permitted to take action on or discuss any presentations made to council. You may speak up to 4 minutes, and each speaker must complete the speaker's form that includes the topics to be presented. You may also submit an email to mayorandcouncil@trophyclub.org. Madam Secretary, do we have any forms submitted for speakers this evening?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to item number 1, our proclamation, issuance of proclamation 2020-12, recognizing Dennis Sheridan for receiving the 2020 Congressional Veterans Commendation. And we're going to have our veteran council member, Carl Monger, read that
One of
for us
three.
this evening. One of 3, yes.
Proclamation 2020-12, Town of Trophy Club, Texas. Whereas the Congressional Veteran Commendation is a nominations-based program designed to recognize the wartime sacrifices and peacetime community involvements of residents in Texas. The honorees selected are exceptional Americans in every way. To be nominated for this award, a veteran must currently reside within their congressional district of Texas, served in active duty, retired or honorably discharged from the United States Armed Forces, or a reservist called to active duty. The nomination process includes information about the veteran's heroism while in the military and community involvement, and whereas Mr. Dennis Sheridan is a resident of Trophy Club, served in the United States Army as a second lieutenant, and was assigned to the Bravo Company in the Vietnam conflict. In December of 1969, Mr. Sheridan was reassigned to the 2nd Platoon, Alpha Company, No Slack, as a platoon leader. His exemplary leadership was recognized, and he was designated as the executive officer, followed by commanding officer of Alpha Company, and ended his distinguished career with the U.S. Army at the rank of captain in 1972. And whereas, in recognition of his valor and leadership, Captain Sheridan received many military awards, including the Combat Infantry Badge, Army Commendation Medal, Bronze Star with V device, and Bronze Star with Oak Leaf, and whereas Mr. Sheridan has dutifully served Trophy Club as Commissioner on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 16 years, with the last 4 serving as chairman, in addition to chairing the Charter Review Commission, and whereas Mr. Sheridan was an active member of the Dallas-Fort Worth United Service Organizations and has assisted countless service members at the DFW USO Canteen, visiting the Dallas VA Hospital and bringing words of encouragement, food, and gifts for our wounded warriors. Mr. Sheridan's actions are consistent with the finest traditions of the United States Army and reflect extraordinary credit upon himself, the state of Texas, and the United States of America. Mr. Sheridan holds himself to the highest standard of serving his country and the town of Trophy Club with pride and honor. Now therefore, I, Alicia L. Fleury, Mayor of the town of Trophy Club, do hereby recognize and honor Dennis Sheridan for receiving the 2020 Congressional Veteran Commendation, passed and approved by the Town Council of the town of Trophy Club this 8th day of December, 2020. Signed, Alicia L. Fleury, Mayor, Town of Trophy Club, Texas.
Thank you. Mr. Sheridan, would you like to make your way up to the podium, please? I'll entertain a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing Dennis Sheridan.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Monger and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Well, it is certainly an honor to have such a distinguished veteran living here in Trophy Club. And I also want to thank you for your service to our town, because I know you spent many, many years in serving our community in many different capacities. So congratulations, and thank you so much for your service. I'd like to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Lamont.
Madam Mayor, I would like to enter into the minutes the Congressional Veteran Accommodation that was issued by Congressman Michael Burgess into the record. And just on a personal note, it's a great honor to call you a friend.
Thank you. Mayor, I want to thank you very much. Thank the council members, thank the citizens. I'm very humbled, and there's many veterans in this town that serve honorably and heroically. I want to thank them too. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're on to our business spotlight. We are recognizing Vinny's Italian Restaurant this evening. Oh, there he is. So on a personal note, it's of course one of my favorite places to eat, and my parents certainly love to go there as well. Vinny's Italian Restaurant has always been so generous to our community, especially to our schools, with gift cards and gift certificates for many an auction, for many a school, so we do appreciate that. And it's kind of our turn to give back now, because he's given so much. So make sure you visit Vinny's Italian Restaurant, and make sure you go to lunch. Got some great lunch specials. They're still offering their family meals as well. So Vinny, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Vinny Estreffi. I'm here on behalf of Vinny's Italian Restaurant. We at Vinny's been serving the community of Trophy Club, the great citizens, since 2005. My favorite dishes at the restaurant: chicken marsala, lasagna, and our brick oven pizzas. I'd like to take this opportunity and thank the mayor, the council members for allowing us to spotlight our business here in the town, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Make sure y'all go to Vinny's. I'm sure most of us have already been, but if you haven't, you must go. All right, up to item 2, announcement and reports. Receive Town Manager Norwood's update and reports.
There are none. I was saving it all for Vinny.
Oh. Did I steal your thunder? I'm so sorry. I was so excited he was here. Now I'm hungry. Before we move on to the consent agenda, I would like to ask if there is anyone here from item number 14 with the withdrawal of applicant of our PD 30. I didn't want them to have to sit through if someone is here for that. No? Okay, we'll just move along as scheduled with the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the town council and being enacted by one motion. No separate discussion of these items will be held. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered individually. Is there anyone that would like to pull an item for individual review from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent items 3 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I have a motion by
Second.
Councilmember Bone and second by Councilmember Gerasi. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Everyone in favor, please raise your hand. Votes is unanimous, and the motion carries. Okay, we're on to individual items. We have number 8, receive a presentation and provide direction for a possible location and use of future dedicated pickleball courts at Independence Park from our Director of Parks and Recreation, Tony Patamio. Did I do it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The strategic link for this item is nature and beautification, improve the aesthetic and recreational value of the town. I'd like to thank you for your time this evening and express how excited I am to be able to present this item to you tonight. I did meet with our Parks and Recreation Board on November 19th, in which they provided direction for me to meet with you and present this item to you. And I'll be going through a little bit, some slides to discuss the recommendation that they made that night. And of course, I'm here available for you, any questions during or at the end of the presentation. So before I go too deep into it, I wanted to give you a little bit of statistics on pickleball, the sport. It has currently approximately 3.3 million players registered through the USA Pickleball Court Association. It has a growing rate of about approximately 10% from 2015 to 2018. And we did a little bit of study, our staff did actually, and we discovered that it's approximately a 60-40 split between tennis players and pickleball players between both courts. As you know, we have blended lines, which means dual play at Harmony Park and Independence Park West. What are our goals, right? So our staff goals is obviously to provide the needs of our citizens, in which they were expressed to us from our pickleball players approximately about a year ago. And you know, because the sport is so popular, it just keeps evolving, and the increase of the players is by the day. So we've learned that there's a lot of waiting time, and the courts are just heavily used at the moment. So you know, and the second goal would be, of course, to identify a potential location, and this is why I'm here and what Park Board had recommended for me to present to you to move forward with a consultant to move forward with. So I'm going to be going through a little bit more of these slides to show you a picture, or aerial actually, of one of the locations that have been identified, which is Independence Park East. As you can see, over to the southwest of the park, there's approximately there's 8 pickleball courts currently there. That's just that was just put there for kind of like a visual for you guys to see and go off of. The reason this park was identified was it's a developed park. It's popular. Our pool is there, and so we have existing parking lots already there. We have concessions. We have restrooms, and so it's like I said, it's a developed park in which we can probably potentially save a lot of time and funds to move forward with if we were to choose to. Again, all the contingent upon what our consultants, if we were to move forward with that direction, is to see what their recommendation is as well, and at a later point make that recommendation to Mayor and Council. Just in case you're wondering about the 3 existing T-ball fields there at the southwest that are currently there, those can be relocated over to the south end of the park. Those little rectangulars there, see, is a picture of 2 backstops. The reason I put those there is because we do have 2 backstops provided for our T-ball players where the pickleball courts are identified. So those can comfortably fit there and so just be relocated. So our baseball association would not be losing those T-ball fields, just as an FYI, in case you had any questions there. I included this picture just to kind of give you a visual as well. Obviously, this is a little bit more than 8 pickleball courts. As you can see, the pathways there between each of the sections allows for spectators and players to kind of mingle and just wait around for their next match or for their partner or friends that are there at the moment. This one, same setup, only this one has a shade structure, a few shade structures involved, and double-sided benches for spectators. And this just gives you another idea with the wider path, no shade structures, but I just, again, wanted to offer these to you, or provide these to you to give you a kind of a visual on what they would look like, potentially. And the reason I added this one is potentially this location can provide a championship court, okay? And the reason I included this one is this location has a lot of potential, right? Whether it's 8 pickleball courts, 10, 12, the possibility of hosting various tournaments is there, whether it's sanctioned versus non-sanctioned. If we were to go that route, I can envision having a large event out there which we can have food trucks and provide food service for our spectators. And as you can see, we have various sponsorships there around the gate. So the potential is there for various revenue to offset some of the costs for maintenance and, any materials that we can use or we would have to use and whatnot. The grandstands, as you can see, those can strategically be placed as well at the championship court, whether they're purchased or rented from an agency there as well. So there's a lot of potential there. Again, I'm here for questions, but please keep in mind there's a lot of potential for sports tourism as well, and to try to help out our local restaurants and hotels if possible. So wanted you to keep that in mind. The second location that has been identified is Independence Park West. As you can see there at the south end of the existing tennis courts, we were able to squeeze in 4 pickleball courts. This also would accommodate the requests that we have received from our pickleball players. However, I don't think that it'd be ideal for tournaments to be hosted here. It's just too congested of an area, although the existing parking lots are still there as opposed to across the street. It would require players and spectators to cross the street and just making it a little bit more difficult for them to get to the location. However, we do have the Veterans Memorial parking lot. We do have the concession stand there at West and restrooms. Keep in mind also with option A over at East, if we were to go that route, there's always, depending on what the consultant may advise, expanding restrooms, expanding concession stand and whatnot. So, again, this is all contingent upon what our consultants would provide. This is a little rendering of 4 pickleball courts and what they would look like. As you can see, it's a little bit different than the previous slides that I had shown you. Just wanted to offer that to you just so you can give you a visual. And there's a same rendering with shade structures. So the possibility is there for some shade structures, but keep in mind we would have to strategically place these in such a way where we can accommodate the spectators and the players as well. So, and there's the last rendering there with 8 pickleball courts with a little concession stand and some bleachers there and some benches there so as well. As you can see, the parking lot is not as big. However, you don't have the space you would over at Independence Park East. You don't have that accommodation, and it's a little bit more congested as well. So that pretty much concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
And just so you know, the Park and Rec Board did approve this. The recommendation was unanimous for anywhere from 8 to 10, 12 pickleball courts that would be dedicated for pickleball, and then returning kind of the joint marking of our tennis courts, return those solely to tennis use. So, and again, when we mention a consultant, we're just trying to look at everything from feasibility to, I guess, reinvestment opportunities, offsetting some of our expenses. Pickleball courts are not going to require the same level of staff maintenance that ball fields would, because we're not mowing them, we're not, you know, reseeding or seeding or overseeding or what have you. You know, we need to be out there to pick up trash, so, but we do want to get somebody, because this is a new, I mean, your purists will say it's not a new sport, but for 95% of people, it's been the last 5 years that has really blossomed. So we want to get some expertise in. And if that's council's direction, we would bring that back to you first meeting in January.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Lamont first.
I'd like to make a motion. If I get a second, I'll make a comment. You finished?
Yes, sir.
Motion to direct staff to bring forward a recommendation for a qualified consultant to determine the best location, number of courts, and the design to attract both sanctioned and non-sanctioned tournaments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilmember Bone.
Yeah, point of order. Is this agenda to take action?
There's no action necessary, it's for direction. His motion was just to give directions. So.
Okay, can you just repeat the motion, just real quick?
Make a motion to direct staff to bring forward a recommendation for a qualified consultant to determine the best location, number of courts, and a design to attract both sanctioned and non-sanctioned tournaments.
So just so I'm clear, you are wanting the option A, basically?
No, we're asking for a consultant to come back to us with a plan.
Okay.
That would be my definition of that.
Just because the tournaments, he said, couldn't happen on the option B is the reason that I said that.
Well, I don't think we're determining option A or B here.
Okay. I just heard tournaments.
Yeah. So my comment is, my wife plays bocce ball, which is right next door, and I've gone over there to take pictures. One of the benefits to it is that a 16-year-old can play with a 60-year-old because it's a wiffle ball. And so that's what I find encouraging. Unlike tennis, where if you get a 16-year-old and a 60-year-old, the 60-year-old is going to have a little bit of a problem, unless he's John McEnroe, of course.
That's correct. And please keep in mind, of course, as any other sports facility, these courts would have to be ADA compliant as well. So there's been, now, it's been some research where kids in wheelchairs are also going to be playing the sport or have been already started playing the sport.
Councilmember Wilson?
Yeah, couple of questions. Are these permanent structures once they're put in?
They're permanent-ish. If pickleball decides to phase out and it loses the popularity that it has, it is easy to restructure it into something else.
Okay, because that was my big question. I know at one point in Trophy Club, kickball was all the rave, and it's my understanding it's gone from 16 teams down to maybe 6 teams. And
no, we had 8. It's still very popular.
Oh, it's still very popular. Okay, just wondering how difficult or easy is it to transition to something else if the popularity kind of waned a little bit?
It would be easy, and that is actually something that we discussed as well, wondering if this does get phased out, what are our options? So we have talked about some of that, but until that happens, we don't really have to dive into it too much.
Okay.
Councilmember Drosy?
Yeah, I guess since we made a motion here, I have to be careful what I say, because my concern, like, with option A, I think is good, and I'm in favor of option A. Personally, I know you said that we're looking for hiring a consultant. My only concern and hesitation is the location that was proposed during the Parks and Rec meeting there for option B is the last green space area there for vet kids to play after school. And, you know, my son's in 5th grade, so he's got less than a semester now at this point to play there, but my concern is that's a green area there that's taken away from kids to be able to play after school. And it's used a lot by the youth cheerleading organization there associated with the Bobcats football team. It's kind of a pickup area where kids play football, and I'm just concerned about that area being, I guess, topped with something other than just a general green space for kids to play in. just from use if you're there
You're
at
talking
Indy
about option
West.
B?
Yeah,
Yeah,
option
so
B
that's-
at Indy West.
Yeah, that's not the ideal plan. It is a space, but it
Yeah.
is, during the whole Parks Board was in agreement with option A.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the motion was just to direct, to get a consultant in to discuss all options, and these are just a couple of examples, is that
Correct.
correct?
That's
Okay, good. I know when I started playing last year, right before COVID, it is super fun, and there were all ages there, and at all levels, but everybody was having a great time, and doing some research found it is at that time, the fastest growing sport in the US. And it's just so popular because, like Greg said, you can have just little kids all the way up to, you know, the 100-year-old. I mean, really, they're out there. It's wonderful, and it's so much fun. So I'm really glad that you guys are working on this, and hopefully we'll be moving forward. And thanks for all your hard work. I know it's been a long process. I mean, you guys have been talking about this for a year now, right? So thank you very much. Councilmember Schaffner?
Yeah, I'm actually in agreement with providing bocce ball courts because I think that we have seen a need.
Wait,
Bocce
said
ball?
Or
Pickleball?
Nobody.
that too.
Outdoor racquetball?
Might
There's a
be
racquetball
shade
there?
structures.
My wife called you.
Pickleball. Because we've seen, you know, the sport grow even in Trophy Club. We've gotten complaints for quite some time now about space, the tennis courts and the pickleball kind of competing against each other, and I think you put cameras out. Here's my only concern, and I think sometimes we forget about history, and for those who weren't on council and had to hear residents yelling at them for the noise and the crowds and everything that Independence East brings with it to the neighbors right there on Lilyfield. I think, I don't even want to venture to say, and Greg may know offhand, how much we spent on trees and things of that nature and turning lights a certain way and the calls that you get on July 4th because the speakers are too loud. And so, you know, I'm all for this, but I certainly want to give direction to have the consultants keep that in mind, look at the history. I know, Tony, you were here, you knew the history. And, you know, as you move that location, if you build that too big, you're going to have neighbors in that section who are not going to like it. And if you push the T-ball down towards the pool area, you bring on a whole new set of problems. So I think that we need to keep in mind history, and when we you know, engage consultants, that, yeah, it would be nice to have huge tournaments and maybe there's revenue and things like that, but sometimes bigger is not better when it
Correct, yeah,
comes
and
to residents.
The lighting and the noise is stuff that we had discussed internally as well. So it is on the list of things to go over with the consultant.
Yeah, okay, just wanted to keep that,
I think we learned a lot from last time.
yeah.
Just a couple more questions. How, if we do these tournaments, how, does that affect our baseball season?
So the plan is to not schedule them on the same weekend. So we've talked to baseball, Tony's talked to baseball a lot, so we've kept them informed of the whole process through all of this, and it's just, we're not gonna have the big tournaments on the same weekends.
And then how many players do you think per tournament would be coming in?
I think
There's about 25 to 30 players per court, approximately, for the tournaments.
Anyone else? So we had a motion, but not a second.
Yeah, we did.
Do you have a second? One second, okay. Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and second by Councilmember Bone. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you very much. Item 9, take appropriate action for the replacement of an ambulance with a 2020 Ford F-550 road rescue ambulance for operations in the fire department from Suttons Martin Emergency Group in the amount of $327,672. Fire Chief Taylor?
And Mayor and Council, just these next two items, I've sent you an email and had some discussions with some of you. You know, just a quick history lesson. You know, we got reimbursement of about $670,000 from Tarrant and Denton counties. They made it very clear to us, all of those monies were to go to offset personnel expenses in police and fire. Well, those monies were budgeted. Yes, there was impact, but those funds were budgeted already. So we're taking these monies, the 670, which essentially is going to be freed up from our general fund balance. We're setting those aside to buy COVID-related purchases, one-time expenses, not anything that's recurring. And these next two items fall under that, and these next two items are also eligible for 75% FEMA grant. And that's really kind of a window of opportunity, if you will, that gives us the ability to really leverage those dollars even further. At the end of the day, we're going to have roughly $175,000 left over. I would just ask that you restrict that. I'd say don't spend that. And the reason is the legislature will start meeting next month. We don't know what kind of mandates or rules they could come up with, some financial impacts for council chambers, for anything where the public congregates. So we would like to have those funds set aside to address that. If there's no unfunded mandates, so to speak, then those monies you could put them just in the fund balance. You could put them in, you know, our capital equipment. You could put them in vehicle replacements. So, but, you know, as Chief Taylor will tell you, you know, we really don't like to see those two ambulances that close together within 3 years of each other. But he has an operational plan that can extend that warranty, or that, I guess, the length, so that they're not quite so bunched up. But it is a great opportunity for us to possibly get grant reimbursement. So that's kind of a little history and kind of how we got here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Norwood. Mayor Fleury, council, it's my pleasure. As Mr. Norwood told you, this is to buy a new ambulance, a 2021 Ford F-50 Road Rescue ambulance. But the big issue is what it's replacing. It's replacing a 2007 Chevrolet Kodiak ambulance that's going to be 14 years old by the time this ambulance arrives. It's well past its prime. It's had a tremendous amount of repairs over the years and has gotten to a point where it's now a life safety issue as well as a liability for us. Just recently, the last 3 weeks, we had it break down with a patient inside. Fortunately, it was not a critical patient. It was a non-critical patient. And fortunately, our neighboring department was very close by. We were able to transfer that patient very quickly and get them to the hospital. However, that just belabors the fact of the risk that we're taking with that ambulance. Our frontline ambulance is wonderful. It's 2018. This will be a sister ambulance. They're very, very, very similar. And they are, as Mr. Norwood elaborated, I'd like to have those on a 10-year rotation. So if we purchase this, and it would be 2021 late, possibly 2022 when we actually receive that. Theoretically, we'd like to replace one in 2023, so that the 2018 model, which is our front line now, in 2023 would go to reserve. 5-year front line, 5-year reserve, and then the new one would take over in 2023. Well, we'll be getting this one a little bit early, but it'll be easy to stretch that. You know, stretching it to 11 years is a lot easier than the 14 that we're about to do with this reserve. They just can't take that wear and tear. So I can easily make that work to get that rotation, but optimally it would be a 10-year rotation, 5 and 5, where they're 5 years front line, 5-year reserve, and then they're out the door, but they stagger. So one's a front line for 5, one's a reserve for 5. So you're always on a 5-year interval there, and they stay for 10 years total. So that's the plan moving forward on that. You know, this would obviously, with the expenses we've had, with the breakdowns and things on this particular ambulance, we're going to trade it in. That'll take a little bit off of what we're using for the funding to replace that, and it's a fair trade-in. But like I said, it'll be a 14-year-old ambulance by the time, if this one were approved, by the time we would receive that. It takes about a year, 10 to 12 months to build an ambulance. So if we get that ordered in the next month to 2 months, we're looking at late 2021, probably early 2022, before we actually see that piece of equipment arrive. So that's why I'm saying
reserve that we currently have would be 14 years old by that point. If you have any questions?
Thank you. Councilmember Schaffner?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2021 Ford F-550 Road Rescue Ambulance. Do I need a not to exceed number? Okay. So,
Second?
yeah. So all you had to do is, for me, is just put that vehicle replacement policy. So Greg will remember when we got on council, they came with an ambulance, and so we asked for the replacement policy, and, you know, they hemmed and hawed, and all of a sudden, we wanted the vehicle, it made us question it, so we asked for the vehicle maintenance, and there was literally no vehicle maintenance. It was a good ambulance, and it lasted another, how many years, Greg? 3, 4, 5 years? So we instituted the vehicle replacement, and it's obvious that this ambulance meets all the criteria for that replacement. Not to mention that who wants to be in an ambulance that breaks down and you have to call somebody for a replacement? So, yeah, I think it's long overdue.
Well, our thanks to Roanoke Fire Department. They were close by and helped us out with that situation, and it wasn't critical. But, you know, that's something you think about in the back of your head, and you don't want that to be a severe situation, but you want it breaking down on anyone, not.
And I don't think people realize, what's the percentage of fire ambulance calls that you get?
You're looking at 78%, 75% in that realm.
Right.
What we do, we still fight the same amount of fires we always have. Our prevention is really ramped up. I mean, I can go on and on about this because I'm very passionate about it. However, the majority of what we do is EMS related. That's what we do. Everybody on our department are paramedics, including myself. So they're equally as important in this
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, so I think it's a great need. It's always been a great need in our community, for sure, so I fully support it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Schaffner and a second by Councilmember Monger. All in favor? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And you may as well stay up there because we're up to number 10. Take appropriate action for the replacement of equipment for the fire department training public meeting room from electroacoustics in the amount of $45,394.82. Chief Taylor?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Newitt he also elaborated a little bit about this. The meeting room, the big training room at the firehouse, that fire station was built in 2011. This training room actually has the original equipment in it. It's obsolete. Most of it does not work. Actually, we're in there today looking at it again. We can't even power some of it up. So we're unable to use that. And it's been a need for some time to replace it. However, with the pandemic we're currently in, as it has everybody in every walk of life, and how we operate, how we train has changed dramatically. And most of what we do now is virtually. And we do it in a classroom setting. It's not just one firefighter in front of a computer. It's a classroom setting. We need that ability. It's critical for us to be able to train as a group, to have those virtual meetings as a group, to also ramp up our public education as we move forward. There's going to be a lot of changes and opportunities with that as we interact with schools. A lot of times that's going to be virtual as well, so we'll have that capability to do that. This facility also serves as our backup EOC for the town, as well as we do have civic group and other groups that will come by from time to time and utilize that. So it's a public service as well that we have. So it's a multi-purpose type venue, but we use it on a day in and day out basis for our training, but we just don't have that ability right now because we don't have the equipment.
Okay,
I'll
thank
honor
you.
any questions.
Councilmember Monger?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 2020-360T for the replacement of equipment for the fire department training/public meeting room from electroacoustics in the amount of $45,394.82.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Monger and a second by Councilmember Bone. All in favor? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Item 11, take appropriate action for the replacement of 3 servers and 3 firewalls from VersaTrust in the amount of $71,126.43 to be funded from the IT Equipment Replacement Fund. This is Town Manager Carroll.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have before you a request to replace 3 servers, a couple of which are giving us issues and need to be replaced for maintenance problems, and 1 for age. We also have 3 firewalls that need to be replaced as well. As you recall, a couple of council meetings ago, we came forward, we were trying to increase our internet speeds here at Town Hall in order to abide by a lot of the remote work that's happening on a day-to-day basis now, both in town and through training and all those things that are happening at the fire station, through PD, and even our main line back and forth to Denton County, which we get our CAD feeds from and those kind of things for the police and fire department, which is our emergency dispatch system. So we increased all those speeds. We're in the middle of increasing all those speeds, and but in order to fully realize that change, we also need to change the firewalls out so that they will allow for that speed as well. So this is a request to get those done, and I know enough about IT to be dangerous. So tonight with us, we actually have the owner of Versa Trust here, Danny Owens, and their Director of Operations, Luke Anderson, is here with us tonight that can answer any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Has everyone met our new Versa Trust people? Why don't you come up and say hello?
Mayor, council.
Just wanted to say hi because, you know, in and out and working virtually, we haven't had any FaceTime, so.
This is Danny Owens and Luke Anderson.
Nice to meet you, Mayor and council. You've probably seen Luke. A lot of the city folks have seen Luke and Krista and all of our folks running around a lot for the last few months.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. Do you have any questions for,
Over my head.
huh, maybe?
Computers are over my head.
We don't know enough to ask questions?
I motion to approve item 11.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Bone and a second by Councilmember Drossy. Thank you guys for being here. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Motion carries. On to number 12. Take appropriate action for the consideration of an engineering contract with Teague Nolan Perkins for Phase 1 of Indian Creek drainage not to exceed $106,738.75, which would include work that has been performed to date, drainage study and surveying, and preliminary engineering yet to be billed. Town Manager Norwood?
Mayor and council, you've been briefed on this project before. We are at that point now where it's kind of a go or no-go. And the go would be to start the engineering and design, probably looking at, 3 to 6 months on that. And then the next step would be obviously to fund the improvements. Phase 1 is right at $1 million. Phase 1 is going to be disruptive. It's going to be challenging. You're going to be working in between homes and putting in large concrete boxes. So it's, and we know it rains here. That will slow the project down. But it's something that we've had 5 of the homes in that area have water in their homes on more than 1 or 2, and some more than 2 occasions. So it is a problem that needs to be addressed. Staff has met with the residents over there at least 3 times. We did a site visit. Myself and Tom Uzzi went out and walked everybody's backyard in between their houses with Tignall and Perkins. And Tom Rutledge, who is a principal with Tignall and Perkins, has been at all these meetings. So it's very clear this is not, something that we're taking lightly. And I know council has made it a priority to, move in this direction and get this addressed. So with that, I've got Tom and Philip here with Tignall and Perkins. They can come forward and give you a little bit more of a technical overview. If you're so inclined, they have a brief presentation. If not, they can just talk you through kind of what the plan is going forward. So.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tom Rutledge, Tignall and Perkins. I have Philip Verghese here with me. What we did is we worked with Steve and the staff in evaluating this. Of course, as Steve said, having been here as many years as we have worked for the town, through the improvements that we did with Indian Creek, we had identified this many years ago that this was a drainage issue here. And so we've done some drainage studies and some computer modeling that shows how that drainage is today and how that will be corrected. We can show that to you if you want to see it. If you want to just move on, we can do that. So we're here at your pleasure. Just tell us what you want to do, and we can get into the details, or we can just answer your questions.
I think there's several new council members, and perhaps if you wouldn't mind going through the presentation.
Absolutely.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we'd be glad to do that, Greg. So I think they're going to load that up in the back for us. Is it there, Philip, where we can do that? Okay. So a little bit hard for everybody to see. So what we did when we looked at this area with the drainage, this is an aerial map that shows the different drainage areas. The red is actually the amount of area that includes Harmony Park and all the surrounding residential areas. That's the area of the watershed that gets collected into the area that's under question in there. So there's a little more technical things that we use for that, but that's generally for your consideration. This shows us the improvements and what Steve referred to about a box culvert. So today there is a 48-inch that starts at the golf course that goes upstream, and then when it gets to the first street, that turns into a 42-inch storm drain that runs all the way up to Indian Creek. We actually need a 6x5 box culvert there, so you can get a little bit of an idea how undersized that system is. And of course, we've been doing engineering for the town since about 1990, and when all this was being designed, the criteria that was used, and this was actually in the county, and there wasn't inspections or reviews. The criteria that was used is certainly less than the kind of criteria that we use today, but you can see the disparity in that. So that box would start at the golf course, run up between the houses, as Steve alluded to, and come up to Indian Creek. Indian Creek is a project we just finished here not long ago, was part of the street bond program. And we had identified that, oh, thank you there, Wade. Oh, good deal, thank you. So Indian Creek is a part of a street bond program that we had done and just finished here not long ago. And when we did Indian Creek, and as we worked through the administration at that time and the council, the town said, well, that's a street bond program. We didn't have the funds to do this drainage work. But what we did do, because we were tearing up the street and replacing it, we put the box culvert in under the new pavement in Indian Creek, so we're not having to come back and tear it up later. So we anticipated that someday would be an appropriate time to do this work. So we're bringing that box from the golf course all the way up here to Indian Creek, tying into the box culvert that we did get designed and installed under Indian Creek to here. And then we're going to extend it on up. Here we're going to bring this box up and then add a lot more curb inlets. What's happening is that the drainage is all coming to this low point in here, and then these homes in here are flooding. What I'll show you here in just a second, you'll see through animation how that intersection floods. It's actually just not, sometimes that Indian Creek just shuts down because the water can get 3 or 4 feet deep there. And so that's what this looks like in the concepts that we put together so far. So we went through and looked at we look at storm frequencies, and when we design systems, and just to give some idea, this is what a 10-year storm event looks like in this low point here, and then the water overflows between the houses, and then it gets in this home here, and then it runs out to the golf course. So you can see what that looks like, and the shaded areas give you an idea about the depth of the water that's there just in a 10-year storm. And then in a 100-year storm, you can see where it's really starting to get into the homes up in here, and then what happens at this point. So we're about somewhere around 3 to 3.5 feet of water at this point of Indian Creek, and then it really starts to get in here. We know from meeting with the residents and the staff that this home and this home for sure have flooded. This home has had a lot of water right up to the door, and so it has been an ongoing problem for a long time. So what we did is we ran a model of this system as we were putting this together, and I'm going to just kind of extend this, and you can kind of see how the storm, as the rainfall occurs, at the top is a time lapse of this as we run through this, and you can see how it builds up, and then it's right there at the peak. And then after the rain after the rain does pass the storm, then obviously it goes down. And then, so keeping that in mind with that, where you can see what that's doing, this is today. What we did then is we ran a model of once we make these improvements, that when that same storm occurs, then what happens through here is that, I'm not sure I'm on the same model. Is it the next? Oh, there it is. Sorry. I was like, well, we didn't improve that at all. It's the same problem. Well, that was really good. I'm sure you were really impressed with that, right? I was like, boy, that did.
Back and do a little more work.
Yeah, I was like, I'm looking at that. I think we're in big trouble. So once we run the model with the storm system in there, then you can see as we go through the time lapse that we still have flooding in here, but it does not get into the homes, and that was the key thing. And so when we worked through this with Steve and his team and looking at this, it would actually require us spending probably about another $1.5 million to $2 million to go all the way up to the drainage system through the streets, replace all of that system, all the streets and everything up there to extend that box. So in this first phase, as Steve called it, we can go in here and get this work done, alleviate the flooding that's occurring in the homes, and reduce the amount of flooding that's occurring in Indian Creek. And so that was really our main objective, is looking at this as a phasing thing. What can we do now to spend minimal dollars and then take care of this immediate problem? And then in the future, as the town looks at their priorities, if we want to extend that system up there and upsize it, then that's something that we can do. And that's what that would look like in a snapshot of that once the storm drain system is put in. So you can see quite a bit of difference in that. Any questions about that?
Councilmember Lamont?
Before I make a motion, I just want to make sure for our retreat, there are several other hot spots in our town with flooding, that we can get that on the retreat agenda and discuss it and see how we want to go forward with that. All right, I'll make a motion.
We got other people,
Say again?
there's other people that asked to speak.
Yeah, are you guys coordinating with the MUD as you look at doing these projects? Because there may be an opportunity to possibly sharing some of the engineering costs, et cetera, if they're going to be doing projects at about the same time.
Councilmember Wilson, yes, we are. That's staff's responsibility. Staff is coordinating with the MUD. We've been in contact with Mike on all of our street projects. He's laid out what projects the MUD has slated for this year. They are going to be doing a study in the next several months, he said, to lay out the projects for next year. So we are working closely with them, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you.
Councilmember Drossy?
I can hold off until everybody else asks their questions, because I think I was going to make a motion, so. Sorry.
Well, we can make the motion and second and discuss, but we'll go ahead and finish speaking, that's fine. I'm glad we're talking about this because I know it's been a huge issue, especially in the last year. And we've actually seen real pictures of this flooding that our residents have brought in, and it's bad. And I know that we're doing 3 phases. This is the first phase, and I think we're starting with this because that is the most important to them right now, which is keeping the water out of their homes.
Yes.
So we know that, there's more work to do, but I think this is a great start for them. And like Greg said, in the retreat, we can address other areas of town, but this definitely is a priority. So it's kind of neat to see the both of them that you presented, to see it in real time. So thank you for that.
Yep.
And were you making the motion?
I can make a motion, sure.
Or, because you had buzzed in, so.
Motion to approve agenda item 2020-319-T, to approve an engineering contract with Tiglo and Perkins for Phase 1 of Indian Creek drainage not to exceed $106,738.75, which would include work that has been performed to date, drainage study and surveying, and preliminary engineering yet to be built.
I think you meant 368T. You said 319,
No,
which
I
was the one for the server.
Oh, okay.
Number 12. Yeah.
368, okay.
So 2020-368-T.
Good catch.
Rusty.
He pays
And
attention.
second, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilmember Gerasi. All in favor? It's unanimous, motion carries. Okay, thank you very much.
Tom, I had one question.
Yeah,
When you said that you brought this to staff, you never told council, you never brought that to council at that time?
It was part of the staff report when we looked at that. One of the things that we started doing many years ago when we start, doing a lot of your street bond programs, that goes even back to 2000 when we first did the first big one, was to always start evaluating the drainage. That's why we put the box culvert in this section of Indian Creek, and we identified that it needed to go downstream, but that new box in Indian Creek ties into that 42-inch pipe right now.
Yeah.
And so they were just talking to the town manager at the time and what was available in funds. They said, well, we don't really have the money now to go do that, and so we at least set it up as part of the Indian Creek project.
Yeah, I remember us approving the upsizing of it. I
Yes.
just don't know that I ever remember that it was really presented to us what potentially could happen.
Yeah,
You know.
I don't know, we didn't do this level of study. We knew that putting in a big box upstream and tying it into that pipe, and we did talk to staff about it. I would say that the discussions that we had at that staff level was, well, we know we can't do anything about it, and it was just, I think it was in a report, but nothing like what we've done tonight
Okay.
at this level.
So what, I guess what I'm getting at, did you, at the time that you presented that to staff, did you know that there was the potential for this level of flooding?
No.
Okay.
We had heard that we knew that there was, that this was an issue, but not to the extent that, once we did this kind of level, and Steve's approved for us to do this level of modeling so we could identify that and see what that was really doing.
Yeah.
That was really the first time where the town approved us to do that level of study.
Okay, yeah, because I think it would be important for council to certainly, if there's any potential, that we be presented with that,
Yeah.
because of the ramifications of doing a project and then realizing, holy cow, we could have spent
Yeah.
whatever to improve that and not, be in this position
Yeah.
that we're in now, so.
No, that's,
Well, that's something we can certainly talk about at our retreat next month. That'd be a good
Yep.
time for that. Thank you, Tom.
you're
very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we're on to item number 13, creation of a strategic partnership committee to engage with the Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Number 1.
Wait,
Am I,
you gotta-
I'm sorry.
You gotta vote.
I thought we voted, sorry. Just moving right along. Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilmember Gerasi. All in favor? I thought we did vote.
We did.
Yeah, we did. So y'all are just really trying to give me a hard time on my first day. I hear you. Okay, so we can go to item number 13. Creation of a strategic partnership committee to engage with the Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Number 1 regarding the expiration, renewal, and/or amendment of the interlocal agreement for fire protection services with the Town of Trophy Club. Town Manager Norwood.
Earlier this year, we had a strategic partnership committee that consisted of then Mayor Sanders and Philip Schaffner that worked with the MUD. Greg Wilson was on that committee along with Bill Rose to address our two facility issues, the park maintenance building and the former town hall administrative building. That got worked out through the committee. Both bodies approved it, and this is kind of the, I guess, the next step to continue building on that success, and that is to address the fire protection issue, which, you know, in my few discussions with Alan Formenton, with the MUD, you know, it's really, I mean, they're in the business to sell water and sewer, and we're in the business to provide fire protection. And it does get a little cumbersome on budgets and how much is funded from here and there. So this would be, tonight would ask for 2 names to be on that committee, and then we'll have an introduction meeting, and then hopefully draft up some, I guess, deal points that would go into an interlocal agreement, and then we'd bring it back to you for approval.
Councilmember Whistler?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
The mayor.
Say again?
You and the mayor.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to have myself and Mayor Fleury be the 2 people that are on the Strategic Partnership Committee to work with TC Mud 1 regarding the expiration renewal and amendment to the interlocal agreement for fire protection services with the town of Trophy Club.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Wilson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont. All in favor? It's unanimous, motion carries. We're on item number 14, withdrawal by applicant of a request to amend PD Plan Development District Number 30, PD 30, to add pet services to the SUP required for there's no action required on this, but I have to read it right. SUP required for outdoor and overnight uses to the list of permitted uses at Trophy Club Town Center, generally located on the northeast corner of Trophy Club Drive and State Highway 114. Town Manager Norwood.
Yes, Mayor, this item did go before Planning and Zoning. It was denied. They were in the process of bringing it forward. That's why this is on your agenda tonight, because it was posted for this meeting. So we had no choice but to put it on there. The applicant did submit in writing a request to have this withdrawn, and I think they will be going back to, I guess, their, you know, to their drawing board and get this reconfigured and resubmit and go back through Planning and Zoning and then ultimately council. So staff does support this and is willing to work with the applicant. I think it was just a matter of a little bit unsure as to exactly what they were wanting and needing, and but I've met with Lisa Payne on this a couple times, so we're ready to sit down and work with them.
Well, I look forward to them resubmitting. I think you're right. It was just, they just need to do it a little different way, and we should be good with that. Councilmember Wilson? Was that from last time?
I think that was from previous.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, no action necessary on that item, so we'll move on to 15. Take appropriate action on a comprehensive citizen survey.
I think that's you.
Oh, that is me. We have, oh, I get to talk about something. We had talked about a citizen survey for a while now, and so hopefully that is going to be happening, and we'll go into more detail on that in the retreat. But I think it's important to just do a checkup of the community. Our demographic has changed drastically since the last survey. I think it was done in 2011 or so. So it's been a long time. So I think it's a great idea to get, do have a checklist, have a baseline, see what residents are happy with, what they're not happy with, what they are looking forward to, see, their opinion on our town services and amenities. So I think tonight is just to have the survey approved, and then we'll talk about more details during the retreat. Does Councilmember Drossy?
Oh, go ahead.
No.
Okay.
I was,
I was gonna say that, I can support you on that. They're doing the survey there, Alicia, or Mayor, sorry. We also look at during the retreat too, just kind of adding that survey into like a comprehensive kind of strategic plan. I know we're built out, we're just kind of looking forward and using that information to kind of help move this forward. That's the intent of this survey, correct?
Right, so it's all-inclusive there.
Okay, so make sure I'm tracking with you. Thank you. I make a motion to approve item number 15.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Drossy and a second by Councilmember Monger. All in favor? So we have, motion carries with 6. All not favor? Let's see. Okay. I'm so used to everybody here. Okay, and that's a no for Councilmember Schaffner. On to item number 16, discussion of future agenda items. Town Manager Norwood.
Mayor and council, you've got in your packet the latest one that was done. We did eliminate a fair number of those that had been on the list for some time or sufficient action had been taken to enable it to be removed. A couple of these have been kind of pushed back. One was a citizen survey, also the monumentation on entryways. And we're in the process of working with Freesa Nichols and our county on the mitigation plan with the mud. So really, it's going to be I guess the goals retreat. Those will be items as we get closer that you'll be developing a list of your topics that you would like to discuss. But if there's items that you want to put on here, I mean, we can sure do that. And as we kind of put our new process up there, we'll get back to you, within a couple of weeks or so. And if that warrants more discussion, then we can keep it on the list. If that answers your question, then it doesn't need to stay in perpetuity on a list. So, so I think a lot of this will come out during our goals retreat.
Okay, great. I'm glad to see a couple things made it back on there after they were incorrectly removed at some point. But I think it is a good idea to talk about these things at retreat since we're only a month out and this is our last meeting for December. It just makes sense to add items at that time. Anyone else? Councilmember Lamont.
Regarding executive session, I would like to make a motion to remove item number 3 from executive session to open session and to approve the amendment.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilmember Drossy. All in favor to take item 3 out of executive session and open session and approve the amended agreement? Okay, the motion is unanimous. The vote's unanimous. Motion carries. Okay, pursuant to the following designated sections of the Texas Government Code and Untitled Chapter 551, Texas Open Meetings Act, the council will convene into executive session to discuss the following.
Wait. We're not going to go into executive session, right?
We're for item
Yeah.
number 1 and 2.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
It's okay.
apologize.
All right, you got to keep me in check just in case. You never know. Item number 1, discussion and possible action, deliberate the duties and employment of the municipal court judge pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters to discuss the appointment of a public officer in personnel matters. A, reappointments of municipal court judge and associate judges. And item number 2, discussion and possible action, deliberate economic development negotiations regarding a commercial prospect pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.087, economic development. We're now in executive session. At 8:09 p.m. Do I do this?
Good, one.
Okay, the time is 8:48. We're back in open session. We're moving on to number 18. Take appropriate action regarding the executive session. recognize Mayor Pro Tem Lamont.
I'd like to make a motion for item number 1A, to reappoint presiding Judge Eric Ransbling, alternate Judge Warren Bradley, and alternate Judge Christine Denny for a 2-year term. Christian, close enough.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilmember Monger. All in favor? It's unanimous, motion carries. Thank you for being here
Yeah, throughout
tonight.
this
We
whole
certainly
thing.
appreciate all that you do, and happy to be with you for another couple years. And sorry you had to wait so long. Well, it's our honor, Your Honor. Would you like to say a few words?
Well, I was asked to come and give a little update with the court. It's been an interesting year. Welcome, everybody. A little word from your judiciary. I'm Eric Ronslaven. I've been a judge here for Trophy Club. I took my first oath in May of 1999, and the presiding judge now for the last 2.5 years. It's been an interesting year with COVID because obviously we are under a little different operating procedure because we're directed through the Texas Supreme Court and the Office of Court Administration for the judiciary. But so we've had to make adjustments, and I'd say one of the most interesting things is how COVID has had a positive impact on the court. When I say that, I mean, you know, we follow the traditional model for many years where people have citations and they primarily take care of their court business by having to get in their car, drive over here to the courthouse and come to a window and talk to somebody. There's been an option for many years to take care of business online, but that's primarily if you're just pleading guilty. If you're needing to talk to someone about your case, it always required a trip to the courthouse. Well, one thing the COVID restrictions have opened everyone's eyes in the judiciary to is how much more business and compliance we have got response from people with citations through our alternative measures that we were required to come up with. So not only Mr. Dodd has been an integral part of our new program, we send offers out to people now, and they can review that and they can submit forms and accept the offer and take care of business by mail. We have a lot of email response with the public and with the defendants, and of course they have their online options as well. We're now, through our technology, we have the ability to send text updates and court reminders, so that's been beneficial. And what's playing out through the state of Texas is a downplay of in the Class C misdemeanor world, which is municipal court and JPs, taking less of an emphasis on issuing warrants to try to gain compliance, and now it's really built on communication and trying to develop, getting a rapport. And so I'm happy to report that although we had a little backlog build immediately when we were under the no personal appearances for our dockets, we're completely caught up as of today. We have absolutely no backlog, and we've processed more cases in this time frame since COVID, from March 2020 to today. We've processed more cases and issued less warrants than the same time period the year before. So it's been a very interesting year in the judiciary. But I appreciate everybody's faith in me and our alternates. We certainly strive to represent the town and represent the judiciary in a faithful way and help educate the public. People come to see us, they're not happy. And we don't try to leave them here necessarily happy, but our motto is they should feel like they've been heard and that they understood what just happened when they leave here. So I appreciate everyone's time.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night, everybody, and happy holidays.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'd like to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Meeting is adjourned at 8:53.